Well, welcome back, everybody, to Music Talk. I'm Dave.
Mike.
And this week, we are going to check out an album that came out back in 2021. This one kind of got past us a little bit. You know, I've never heard of this guy before until recently. So I went back and checked it out and found the CD, and it came out in May 2021. So it's a guy named Ayron Jones. Album's called Child of the State. CD looks like this. Pretty cool. You got the back cover here. And all this little teeny writing inside here is everybody that produced it and all the musicians. It is very, very difficult to read. Very. So then you got this pamphlet here, and it's got all the words and some cool shots of Ayron in here. You know, some of his childhood pictures, got all the words of every song and his dedications and thanks to his family. Got a cool picture of him on the back playing his Strat there. So, you know, this was a pleasant surprise on this one because I saw a video the other day by him and I started looking into this guy and I'm like, man, why have I not heard of this guy? But he's been around since around 2008. You know, he was playing with a band. His band was called Ayron Jones and The Way. And apparently he's done some stuff with them and he was running around touring. He's been a full-time musician since 2008, you know, worked his way through all the, you know, bars and stuff. And I want to say he was found by Sir Mix-a-Lot, I believe, was who he says found him in like a dive bar and kind of helped him along a little bit, you know. But he's been doing production and writing and music and all on his own. He said he started writing music back when he was 13 and then he was producing it and everything else. So, you know, a lot of this credit on here, he's partial producer and he wrote every song. It was him and a couple other guys on some of them, but most of these are all his songs, you know. But man, it was a great surprise to me because, you know, I heard like 2 or 3 songs and I'm like, I got to check this guy out. So I get the CD and I'm like, wow, this is a rocking CD and I really dig it, you know.
Yep, I'm there with you on that one.
So yeah, good thing too for you, man, is he's a Seattle guy. You know, you might even be seeing him around town.
He's probably been down here. I mean, they have a couple of bars downtown, and you hear them when they're playing that duties 3 and 4 band on night gigs and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah,
probably like showcases. And
yeah.
sure, he's been in and out of here a couple times.
Well, if you haven't seen him, you may have heard him because this first song right here called "Boys from the Puget Sound," track number 1, said he wrote this song because every time they went to a club and they played so loud that they got the police called on them.
Yep.
So I kind of, you know, the F-bombs on there. There's a couple of F-bombs right at the beginning. I was like, you know, so I thought we were going to get into a lot of that. And I'm like, at least it was just, you know, a couple things. But he was trying to prove a point. You know, they were getting shut down. A lot of it may have been because of, you know, the way he looks, you know, but man.
I mean, I got to tell you, when I looked at his picture before I listened to the album, I'm like, okay, well, kind of a hip hop looking guy, you know.
Right.
Then all of a sudden, man, this album came on. I was like, oh my God, just totally blindsided me what was going on.
Right.
I loved it. I loved it. I mean, I do not have out of the whole list of songs, there's not one I can say that I favor over the other. They were all right there, man. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't tell you I like, Mercy better than Spinning Circles. I can't tell you that.
Yeah, normally when I'm going through the record and I'm listening and then I'll hear it and 2 or 3 songs usually catch me off the first listen, right? And then I'll go back and dig in a little more and then I'll start putting stars next to the ones that I really like. And this one, I didn't put any stars on any of them because it's just like you just said. I mean, every song on here was good
Yeah.
and some were actually great, but I can't you know, there's not one song on here that I didn't like.
Right.
The
The
whole record is fantastic.
one thing that I loved, the major thing that I loved about listening to this, it wasn't overcomplicated. Um, I loved the approach that the drums took on this. It's all right in the pocket,
Yeah.
nothing trying to steal the show.
Nope.
The singing's fantastic, which I got to tell you, this guy, he's got a voice on him.
Yeah.
And I mean, he like you were when we were talking earlier. He's all over the map with the way he approaches his singing.
Yep. And what's cool too is when I first started listening to it, it's like you hear his voice, and you're like, man, this guy's a good singer. And then all of a sudden you start listening to the guitar playing, and it's like, dang, man, this guy can play the crap out of guitar too, you know? So
The only thing I will say, there's one song on here, Supercharged,
mhm.
that and when it first started out, I'm like, that's that Lenny Kravitz tune.
Yeah, yeah, it does have that feel about it. Yeah, that are you gonna go my way?
It just it didn't take but a minute though to get through the intro, and it's not Lenny Kravitz.
No, So yeah, and there's a lot of people that you can tell he pulled from in his career as coming up, and you can tell the people he's listened to, he's got that Seattle sound on a lot of these songs. So, you know, he's hanging around with people from Soundgarden, and he's hanging around with people from Rage, and you know, he said that he talks to, you know, Taylor Momsen from Pretty Reckless all the time. He's always talking to Dorothy, and these are bands that we love, you know. So he's right there with all these people, but I can't understand why he's not more popular, you know.
I just think it's one of those things, and I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, Michael. I'm not gonna mention his last name, um, without him knowing this that I'm talking about him. But anyway, his name is Michael. He wound up in Nashville at the same time Travis Tritt did,
Mm-hmm.
and they were both vying for recording contracts.
Yeah,
And Travis Tritt got picked above him. They both sound the same when you hear them singing. Matter
yeah,
of fact, I think Michael's got a lot better voice than Travis Tritt. But I think Travis Tritt, I think it's one of these things like,
it's
are
the
they
right
willing,
place at the right
they
time.
are they willing to bite the bullet and let the management and production tell them everything to do?
Yeah,
Or do they want the right to be a little bit in control of what they're doing? And
yeah,
I think that's what it boiled down to. But anyway, just to put it all aside, Michael still wound up with a contract there, you know.
yeah. Yeah, and I think he's kind of got the same thing as the Rival Sons thing. You know, a lot of it's self-funding, you know. So you're not getting a lot of push from the record companies, you know. And it may be that he hasn't really signed. I mean, I guess this is a pretty good name record company, right? This is Big Machine. They're out of Nashville, I believe. I believe they're headquartered in Nashville.
The whole deal is, it's like, yeah, he's got all this that he's drawing from, and I heard so many similarities to so many different people.
Yep. Yep.
And like what I was saying, I was working with an act that was managed and produced out of Nashville. She she would go to Nashville and do her recording work, but she never did anything outside of Washington and Oregon as far as all fair dates and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Well, I tell you, man,
years ago, and I was doing that, but
when I was listening to Ayron talk about all the people he's opened up for, and he's opened up from people from BB King to Run DMC to now Shinedown, Bush, you know, he's out there rolling. So let's go. I'll go through these tracks real quick, and we'll talk about a little bit. But you know, there's not. I mean, everything's good. I got a couple of little critiques, but other than that, so the first one is "Boys from the Puget Sound." Again, he was talking about they wrote this song because every time they played at bars, they were so loud that sometimes the police got called on them. And, you know, so this was their theme song. They used to start every show with this song. So, you know, we're getting ready to rock this place and we're going to bust out some windows. So, you know, because we're the boys from the Puget Sound. So for this one, man, I thought the drums sounded awesome on this, dude. I mean, when that snare and everything just sounded so good. The verse was great. The chorus, to me, it had this. When the chorus comes in, it had quite a bit going on at one time, right? You had the guitars layered and his voice and everything, so it got a little busy on the chorus a little bit. But the end, when he's saying "Here come the boys," I kind of didn't like that very much. That was the only thing I really didn't care for. You know, "Here come the boys," you know, and
Yeah, but you gotta look at the fact too that he's catering to an age group that's what they're into. You know,
yeah,
they're into these chants and stuff like that, and
yeah.
these
And I get it too.
repetitive hooks and stuff. So and I'm sure that was more of a production suggestion. I mean, and the thing is, you know yourself as a musician, you're always looking at how do you end the song.
Plus, I mean, he's announcing himself too. You know, here we come. You know, get ready. Yeah,
And that's the whole thing. Is like when you put yourself in that position and you go, well, how are we going to end this song? A lot of songs are faded out, so you got
yeah,
to create. You know,
yeah,
but in this situation, he had probably had to create a hook or something.
yeah. And I mean, it's a great song still. I mean, that's probably the only bad thing I'm going to say about this whole record was just that one line there at the end. I mean, so I mean, I got a couple of critiques, but nothing really. So we get to number two. This song is "Mercy," and this was actually on the charts. I want to say it got up to number 5, maybe.
I saw something about that, yeah, and that is a song I think they were talking about when I was reading.
Yeah.
And
So this was a great song. It's got a great message. His vocals, especially at the end, man, where he's just, you know, you can feel what he's saying, you know, and the meaning of a lot of these songs, you know, he's got a lot to say, you know, and at the time with Mercy, you know, he was tired of seeing his people being treated the way they're treated, you know,
yeah,
everybody actually. It wasn't just a certain race or group. He's just tired of seeing, you know, his brothers getting shot and people getting, you know, beat up all the time. He was just, you know, he just wanted some mercy. He wanted a way to get out of this, you know, scene. So he was
yeah,
just begging for some mercy, you know. So
it's pretty bad in the Puget Sound right now. I mean, as far as you know, stuff like that.
well, plus at the time, you had actually talked about this too. There was like fires all over the place, and you know, so all this was going on because you got to think about 2020 is when this was written. So at the time, there was a lot going on. So I think this song was a good release for him, and it was a great song. So
Yeah, yeah, I just think he's got a lot to say, and
yeah,
he has put it out there.
and he's saying it the right way too, where he's touching everybody. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a whole other conversation.
But that's what I mean. I mean, he's not really, he's kind of just saying we all need some mercy, you know? So number 3, we get to "Take Me Away." So this one starts out, it reminded me of "No More Tears" from Ozzy with that doodle doom doom doodle doom doom doodle doom doodle doom doom.
Right.
Yeah, it's the same riff kind of, but man, it had such a powerful verse, man, and that bass is just pumping, man, you know? It does have a little bit of similarity to the first song, but still had a great hook on the chorus. I love the guitar break that he does at the end of the chorus. And then he goes into this guitar solo that sounds just like Tom Morello from Rage with that
Right.
real squeaky squeak box or whatever you call them pedals they use. Tom Morello is famous for doing it, you know. And then when Scarlett Park is the vocalist on here and she's doing that "Don't Give Up" part, man, it's a great song.
Yeah, I love the ending, the way they were doing the ending of it.
Yeah,
I give up. And she's like,
Yeah.
they're just answering, talking to each other and answering and stuff. It's like
Well, basically,
cool. It's hard to pull a song off like that and make
yeah.
it.
Well, he said that was he kind of threw that in there to represent his auntie because he lived with his auntie, you know, and she would always tell him, "Listen, don't give up. Just keep on. All this crap that you're going through, just don't give up." So he kind of threw that in there for her.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, it is.
Didn't read anything about that. I didn't. I should have done some more research.
Yeah, that's all right. Uh, there's not a lot out there on him, man. I mean, there's a few interviews, but I got lucky. The local radio station here, FM 99, did a 35-minute interview with him
Oh, really?
about a year ago. So I watched a little bit of that interview and got some of the stuff off of there that he was talking about. So
Yeah, WNOR got him, huh?
yeah, it was really, I was surprised when I saw it go by. I'm like, well, shoot, that's local. Let me check it out. So then we get to number 4, which is Supercharged. And again, we talked about this one. This one kind of reminds you a little bit of a Lenny Kravitz tune.
Got that same octave splitter on the guitar. It's got that
Right.
that
But
same thing.
then,
Doing the same quarter note
yeah,
bang.
it does. But then he goes into, he's got this snare roll that he does before the chorus, the drummer. And man, it's awesome. I love that snare roll he was doing on there. And great catchy chorus. He's got that vocal scream in there. I mean, it's everything you want in a modern rock song, really.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think he said something about this is kind of like living life fast. Is basically, he kind of like was falling in love fast with women, and they were giving him sparks, and he would take a spark from each one, so he's getting supercharged or something to that effect. But some of the stuff I didn't really read into too much, but I'm just trying to think about some of the things he said. But good song though, man. It's still number 4. We're still rocking. We're rolling along. I mean, nothing has deterred me from turning this CD off yet. You know what I mean? And again, too, I think we were talking earlier. You had mentioned that his voice sounded like a lot of people. You know, so every song sounds a little different because his voice is sounding different on just about every song. He's got a different way of saying and singing. It's crazy, man, how good this guy is. So, but then we get to number 5, which is Free, and it's got that vamping intro. So there's a few songs that do that, starting out like that. So that's kind of, I guess it's on like 3 or 4 songs on here. So it kind of, I wish he wouldn't have done it so much, but it's okay. I like it. It still sounds good. But then it's got another catchy chorus, man. And, the drumming's great in it. It's got a great guitar solo, another great message. I mean,
Yeah, but talking about that guitar riff, you know, a lot of times when artists are writing songs like Aaron, for example, I'm sure this is what he was thinking. You could do those kind of riffs, and it leads right into the song,
yeah,
like a count off.
yeah,
It's not a count off. It's
yeah,
go.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, all right, we're getting ready to take off, boys. I'm gonna get you going.
One song to the next without even looking at each other.
Yeah,
And 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 that's the way I look at it. I always look at albums as what is the theme of this album,
yeah,
and it's like it's got to be some kind of theme there, and
yeah.
there's a real line. You just don't shake the songs up in a hat and throw it out there, like you're rolling dice or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm sure there's a rhyme and a reason, and a lot of it might be a personal thing,
Yeah.
with things to go off on stage.
Yeah.
And I love that. I mean, I pick up on that a lot because of being a drummer. I'm always looking at cues, always watching front man, always. I mean, my
Yeah.
eyes too far away from looking at the front man.
I mean, that's that's what everybody, everybody's focused on him anyway, the front guy. So, he's kind of, in my opinion, the bass player leads the band. But hey,
Well,
that's my opinion.
we can have a conversation somewhere.
I'm pretty sure you probably feel the drummer does, and then the singers feel they do.
I've actually led the band.
I know. I'm just kidding. So, but yeah. So then we get to number 6, "My Love Remains," which is a great ballad, right? And to me, and I talked to you a little bit about this earlier, that I feel like a lot of his vocal work reminds me of a mix between Johnny Lang and Bruno Mars. And this song here, there's a lot of Bruno Mars sounding vocals in it. And it's crazy because, I mean, it's not like an exact, it's just the way he sings some stuff just reminds me a lot of how Bruno sings stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I can see that. I just heard a lot of different people out of him.
Yeah.
I heard him sound like the lead singer of Rival Sons.
Mm-hmm.
Sound like Lenny Kravitz. I've heard him sounding like Michael Jackson. You know, in when Michael Jackson wasn't trying to do his falsetto stuff.
Yeah. And there's
so you
a
know it.
couple times he sounds a little bit like Nirvana, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, dang.
That's what my granddaughter was saying, Nika.
Yeah.
I played it for her. And I said, "What do you think it is?" She goes, "I like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like." I
Yeah.
was like,
I mean, he's tapped into that sound, So now, we've gone through 6, and then we get to number 7, "The Killing Season." And to me, if I had to pick a best song on this record, this is one of the ones that would be one of my favorites because
one song you can pick. Yep.
this song just straight kills it, man. I mean, the whole thing is just a great song. I love the verse. It's got great vocals. I mean, the words are open for interpretation, and he said he did it on purpose because he kind of was thinking of "Hey Joe" from Jimi Hendrix and how the lyrics are in that. So on this one, he did lyrics at the end where he's talking about, pull the trigger and run, which you could take that in all kinds of directions. It could be a metaphor, or it could be actual, or however you want to do it. So he's done that in a few of these songs to where he'll give you a line and you can take it for any direction you want to go. I mean, he even did it with the title of the album, "Child of the State." He said it's like, "I'm a child of the state of Washington. I'm a child of the state of the United States. I'm a child of the state of today." So he likes to do that with his words, which I think is extremely cool. You know, so
Yeah. Yeah.
because it relates to more than just one person. It can relate to anybody how they want to interpret the song. You know,
I heard him. There were a couple of lines, and I cannot for the life of me remember them right off the top of my head. I really wish that we would get to the point where we're spinning some of this music as we're criticizing it. But
yeah,
he had a couple of profound lyrics. They totally stopped me. I'm like,
yeah,
this is really an eye opening
for
uh,
sure.
scenario with this guy. People need to really dig into this guy a little bit deeper. He's got a lot to say.
And he's performing at a high level, very high level. I mean, his guitar playing, especially on this song "Killing Season," man, when he says that, "Pull that trigger and run," and you get that no 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 no. I mean, it's just rolling, man. A great song. Love this one. I probably rewound this one 3 or 4 times and listened to it. So
I've like I say, I don't have a favorite out of all of them. I just think the whole, I like the whole album. I just
yeah. So then we get to number 8, which is "Spinning Circles." And this was kind of another Bruno vocal to me as a nice ballad. But then it gets to the chorus where it sounds like Nirvana, where he does that, "Hey, oh, wait, I got it." That part sounded just like Nirvana.
yeah, yeah,
But it
but
was his own way of doing it. So,
yeah. And I mean that's all. That's all music is there's nothing that hasn't been done before.
yep.
Pretty much. I
Yep.
mean, something
And
short of introducing, which people have tried to do with electronics, and personally, I think it sucks. But
yeah.
it's the only way you can get a new sound happening. So, you know, I mean, there are plagiarists out there, but I don't think that's what he's done. What he's
No.
done, he's going off of what he's loved musically, and it's just like blues.
Yep.
There is no way in the world to be totally original as a blues player.
Right. And and when I say that it's kind of like a Nirvana chorus, it does have similarities, but he's from right where Nirvana is from too, So I mean, he grew up listening to that. Of course, you're gonna steal a riff or two, right?
I
And
know,
and
right
on
there.
this one here, Spinning Circles, the song kind of spins in circles. It's crazy because of the way the dynamics are on this, and then you get this great build up, and he brings you right back down, and it just reminds you of spinning in circles to me, you know.
I know the couple of slower songs he threw on here, I really liked it. What I
Hmm.
liked was it was not over musical as far as instrumentally.
Hmm.
A lot of space,
Yeah.
and I mean, it just you didn't feel like there were any empty holes or anything. He I got a lot of respect for this guy.
Yeah.
I got it's just bottom line. I love the simplicity and I love the approach.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a few more left. We got another one, number 9, which is really gonna be the one that would be the other one that I would think would be my favorite on this record. So Killing Season and Baptized in Muddy Waters. This song, when I saw the title, I'm thinking, I hope he don't start naming off like that last guy we did. He starts naming off every blues artist, right? This has nothing to do with Muddy Waters. It's just, he was baptized in Muddy Waters. He's telling you where he's from now, you know? And this reminded me a lot of a Johnny Lang piece, the way he sings it, the guitars, everything about it. But this song, I don't even want to say anything about the verse, the chorus, or everything, because I loved every bit of this song. From the time it starts to the time it ends is just fantastic song, and I loved it. It was this one and Killing Seasons are the two that are trying to, I couldn't tell you which one I like better. Both great songs. So then we get to number 10. And if I had to say a song on here that was my least favorite, would be this one, Hot Friends. But I still like it. I like the words. I mean, what a dilemma, right? He's hanging out with his hot girl and she's got hot friends, and he's like, man, I kind of like your hot friends too, right? So, what a terrible place to be.
Like I say, as you move through each song sets a mood, kind of like walking through his day, or yeah. I mean, you get to the end of the day after work, looking at the hot friends,
Yeah. And then you got Emily, which is, another great song. It's got a great riff. The whole song is great. I mean, this one here, he's feeling pain from a girl and, takes a little smoke, helps him ease the pain a little bit, and
Mm, yep, 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 yep.
you I mean, sometimes you need something to break that pain, right? So, Emily, he's over you,
Wish I had a job that would let me do that.
right? So then we get to the last song. And to me, I thought it was a perfect way to end the record. This one's called Take Your Time. Had a nice blues feel. Had a great vocal intro. He starts it with vocals on this one. And the bass line was fantastic. Super catchy chorus. Um, Fantastic ending. I was kind of worried a little bit when it started. I was like, man, I don't know if I would have ended the CD with this. But by the time he gets to the halfway through the verse, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm with you. Perfect ending for it. So, man, I just, I don't have a lot of bad stuff I can say about this. Not that I want to say anything bad about it. It's just usually on what we got, 10 or 12 songs on here. On a 12-song CD, there's usually a few that we can't even get through. It's like, I can do without one or two. But this one, all 12, it's a perfect length. Every song's great. Not a whole lot of bad to say about it. I mean, I'd love to have got a list of players on here that I could go through, but I don't think I'm going to waste anybody's time with it because, just go in there and check this guy out, dig into it. A lot of these people I've never even heard of on the record. So hopefully we'll see more of these guys in the future. I'm just going to give you a few things real quick about the record. One is I thought a couple of songs had a little similar intros with the chunks and stuff, but not that I hated it. It's just there was a few of those in there, so it kind of was similar. Second is I do think that there could have been a little more bass work in there because there was a lot of room that you could have added some more bass in there. So I felt like times that the bass was just playing a lot of root stuff and it wasn't really expanding with the song. But again, not bad. I'm not complaining. So that other than that, that's it. Everything else, I mean, for all the good, I got great guitars, great vocals, great sound, great drums, great bass, great great words. I mean, there's the whole thing was just fantastic. And I love the way that he leaves the words to where you can interpret it how you want to. He left them so open that anybody can relate. So
Way I looked at what this guy did, and he's a master of what he did. It's the same approach that like Bad Company took with their stuff. Three-piece band with a vocalist. Only thing is Ayron is the vocalist and the guitar player.
yeah, yep,
Laid it out there in a in a very confident, very special way of approaching it. Uh, it didn't turn me off in any way.
nope,
None of these songs. I mean, like I say, I do not have a favorite song because all they all kept my attention.
yep,
I didn't get bored with any of them, and I
and
didn't get overwhelmed with a drummer trying to showboat. I didn't get overwhelmed with you know lead guitar solos that were so quick with the pentatonic and diatonic scales and all that stuff that I lost interest.
yep,
That's all great, well and good, but I don't know. I just want to be able to sit down and listen to an album and not try to figure out what was that I just heard.
yeah, yep. And I going back to what you're saying too is every all these songs were so well written that everything works for each song, and that's what makes it so relatable. Like all these are little stories. It's 12 stories.
Right.
The drums and the bass work together to create the mood, and they weren't overbearing like you're saying. Because I mean, how many times do we hear these blast drum kicks or
It, and I'm hoping they're on the way out the door. But yeah, it's. I mean, I know people are getting tired of hearing me talking about blast beats. I, I think there's a time and a place for it, and
mm-hmm,
that but one or two songs.
yeah,
But when you start writing every song around the fact that you're going to do blast beats and stuff, you're wearing a formula out.
yeah,
And the thing is, space speaks more than filling it up.
yep,
Take and hit a chord and hold it for a full bar or even more
mm-hmm,
and keep people interested in the way you did it.
yep,
There you go. And I'll give you a fine example. And I just saw a YouTube video describing this the other night. Um, it was this jazz pianist that was taking one of John Lennon's songs. God, I can't remember the name of it now. Damn, I'm just going to miss the whole point. But the thing is in 8 bars, there were 12 chords,
yeah,
but it's the way they were put down.
mm-hmm,
Uh, and it's like a a a minor to the ninth and stuff like that. It's
right,
just the way they were put together, and you don't even hear it when you're listening to the song because you're so involved in listening to the melody and the
right,
vocal that the music behind the whole thing just totally just envelops it, and you take it for granted.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point.
Right. And that's what this album, man. I mean, all the songs were structured so well. They're so relatable. I mean, there's nothing bad about it. And to me, every time I go to write down what I was going to rate it, I keep going up, you know, because I like it more every time I listen to it. So I'm actually giving this one a 9.3 right now.
Yeah,
It'll
I'm gonna
probably be closer to like a 9.7 tomorrow.
I'm gonna land on a 9.5 because I was totally impressed.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, this just goes right in there with bands like, to me, Humble Pie, Bad Company. You know, these are guys that just love music,
Yep. Yeah.
and it's a very simple approach. And oh my God,
I'm telling you, there's nothing on here you can't like. You're going to like this record, you know.
I
So,
just hope people gravitate.
me too. Maybe this will give some, you know, exposure to some of the people that listen to us and follow us and or at least, you know us. So I've already turned 2 or 3 people onto this in the last week, and they're listening to it now too. So that's kind of what we're doing here. And you know, we're trying to find stuff that people don't know about, like this. And if it wasn't, if it, you know, since it came out a year and a half ago, normally I would have just blew past it. But this thing is so good, I couldn't help it, man. We had to bring this one and do it.
Oh yeah,
it
and you know, feel free to drop us a line. Feel free to tell us about artists that you are really interested in and wanting to hear what our opinion is.
yeah,
And also, too, you know, there is so much music out there, and I don't care if you want to go with country, country rock, rock and roll. I don't care. I'm willing to listen to anything. Jazz, you know,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it,
we do.
and here's the thing too. You want to hear some good good music, and I'm gonna throw one out there at you. And this one's totally out in left field, but it's probably one of the top 10, well, top 20 live recordings that's happened. And it's Buck Owens and the Buckaroos at
Yeah,
Carnegie. And I'm gonna tell you what, if you want to hear some country music done right with a four-piece band, there you go.
yep,
You know, I mean, it lives and it walks, and I don't care. I put it on today, and it sounds just as fresh to me today as it did when I was a kid listening to it.
yeah, yep,
And that's what this album right here reminds me of.
yeah,
It's going to be just as fresh 25 years from now as it is right now.
yep, absolutely. And it's because he's so relatable, man. So, all right, well, we're gonna wrap it up. Um, one more thing I do want to say is after last week's lyrical words on the guy we did last week, this was such a breath of fresh air to actually have stories written here that were fantastic. So anyway, so this is Ayron Jones, Child of the State. Gotta check this out, man. Great record, great artist, great writing. Everything about it is fantastic. I gave it a 9.3. Mike gave it a 9.5. I'm interested to see what you guys think about this one. So please let us know how you feel about this record, because I want this guy to be out there and I want him famous. I want him heard of.
Too.
So,
Right there with you.
yeah. So with that being said, all right, folks, until next time, y'all stay safe.
Peace out. Listen to the music.